Good morning, students. Today I am going to discuss first of all syllabus related to the geography, and at a time will revise geography and economics. So my dear students, in geography you have to learn and prepare chapter number 1 resources and development, chapter number 2 forest and wildlife resources, chapter number 3 water resources, chapter number 4 agriculture, chapter number 5 minerals and energy resources, and chapter number 6 manufacturing industries, and also chapter number 7 lifelines of national economy. All right, and in economics you have to prepare chapter number 1 development, chapter number 2 sectors of the Indian economy, and chapter number 3 money and credit. All right, so students, first of all I will go through the chapter number 1 from economics development, in which we have to prepare and learn and understand that development means improvement in the quality of life along with an increase in income. But student, it is a multi-aspect phenomena in which different persons can have different perceptions about development. And many people aspire for the following material and non-material things according to the work whatever they want. Okay, so people desire like for regular work, better wages and decent price for their goods and services, and many people also seek equal treatment, freedom, security, respect, and no any discrimination among the rich and poor or upper caste and lower caste people. All right, and sometime before accepting job offers from distant places apart from high salaries, people also look for a better facilities for the family and also discipline and very good social environment and atmosphere for regular work and also opportunity to learn. Okay, and for the comparison of the economic condition of the countries or states, here income is considered to be one of the most important method, and the countries with higher income are generally more developed than the other with less income. Okay, and we can compare countries between the different countries of the world on the basis of per capita income or average income, and this criteria used by the World Bank also. All right, and according to the 2015-16 data, while comparing the per capita income of some states like Haryana had per capita income of 1,62,034, and in the compare of Haryana, Bihar had only 34,168 per capita income. So students, whatever facilities provided by government free of cost or at subsidized rates are referred to as public facilities, and money in one's pocket cannot buy all the goods and services whatever needed by the people for their survival. So it is the responsibility of the government to make adequate provision for people or for public facilities. Okay, and after that, next topic is BMI or body mass index, which is very useful to calculate whether we are properly nourished or not. And it is derived, for example, dividing the weight in kilogram by the square of the height, and then we will get BMI. Okay? And students in development, it is a people, their health and their well-being that is most important, and it can be assessed with the help of Human Development Index or HDI. Okay? And after that, according to the HDR or Human Development Report, whatever published by UNDP. And UNDP, and the full form of UNDP is United Nations Development Programs. Okay? So students, UNDP compares countries based on the educational levels of the people and related to their health status and per capita income. Okay? And also Human Development Index compares countries' development on the following parameters, in which number one is life expectancy. It means average expected length of life of a person at the time of birth. And gross enrollment ratio, it means enrollment ratio for primary school, middle school, secondary school and higher education beyond secondary level, and on the basis of per capita income also. So on the basis of HDI 2017 report, India ranked 131 in the world. And in general, the phenomena of development is perennial or everlasting. So sustainability of development is very important because consequences of environmental degradation do not respect national or state boundaries. Our future is linked together. All right. After that, your second chapter is sectors of the Indian economy, in which we have to prepare and learn that people are engaged in various economic activities like producing goods, providing services, and these activities are categorized under different sectors like primary sector, which is related to agriculture sector, and secondary sector, which is related to industrial sector, and finally tertiary sector, which is also known as service sector. Okay, so students, you have to learn and prepare more and more information related to all these three sectors of the Indian economy. So students, it has been generally noticed that at initial stages of development, primary sector is very important. Okay, and over a period of 100 years, many new methods of manufacturing are introduced and factories come up, and people who had earlier worked on farms now began to work in factories in large numbers. And secondary sector gradually becomes the most important one in total production and employment. Okay, and also over the period of next 100 years, there is a further shift from secondary to tertiary sector in developed countries, and also the service sector becomes the most important in terms of total production, because in any country many services are required, such as hospitals, educational institution, post and telegraph services, police stations, courts, village administration, offices, municipal corporation, defense, transport, bank, insurance companies, etc. So, primary sector continues to be the largest employer even today in India in the compare of all these two sectors of the Indian economy like secondary and tertiary. And approximately half of the workers in the country are working in the primary sector, especially in agriculture. And this is only because enough jobs have not been created in the secondary and tertiary sectors. After that, your next point is GDP or gross domestic product, which is the value of final goods and services produced in the country by all the sectors. All right. And students, not every good or services that is produced and sold need to be counted. Only final goods and services are counted, then final goods are the goods that reach to the consumers. And this you can understand on the basis of example of wheat. Alright. So students, the value of final goods already includes the value of all the intermediate goods that are used in making the final goods. Alright. After that, your next point is that activities in an economy can also be classified on the basis of the conditions of the work in organized and unorganized sectors, which I am going to discuss with you. So students, organized sectors covers those enterprises or places of work where the term of employment are regular and people have assured work and they are registered by the government and have to follow its rules and regulations which are given in various laws such as Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, etc. And in unorganized sector, which is characterized by small and scattered units which are largely outside the control of the government, rules and regulations are also not followed. Jobs are low paid and often not regular, and there is no provision for overtime, paid leave, holidays, leave due to sickness, etc. Okay. And students, we have another way of classifying economic activities on the basis of ownership of assets and responsibility regarding delivery of services, and on the basis of the sectors are classified as public and private. So students, I think you are all well known about the public sector and private sector, but anywhere if you have any confusion, then you can contact with me or you can read and learn very easily from your book that what is public sector with its example and what is private sector with its example. Okay. And after that, another problem related to the Indian economy, that is unemployment, which is continues to be a serious problem in India. And employment can be generated in tourist, regional craft industry or new services like commerce. That's why central government introduced Manrega or Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act in 600 to 25 districts of India, implementing the right to work. And this program guarantees 100 days of wage employment in a year in rural areas by the government. And student, there are a number of ways in which government can provide employment to those who are unemployed. Alright. After that, your last chapter related to the economics is money and credit, in which we have to understand that money acts as an intermediary in the exchange process and it is called a medium of exchange. And also it is the most important function of money. Okay? And in the ancient times, barter system was prevailing where goods were directly exchanged without the use of money. And double coincidence of wants was an essential feature. So students, what a person desire to sell is exactly what the other wish to buy. This is known as double coincidence of wants. And as you know very well that in the earlier times, a variety of objects such as grains and cattle, and also different metallic coins made of gold, silver, copper were used as money. And modern forms of money include currency, paper notes, and coins. Okay? So, money which is accepted as a medium of exchange because the currency of India is authorized by the government of India. Okay? And the Reserve Bank of India issues currency notes on behalf of the central government in India. And also, no other individual organization is allowed to issue currency. Okay? And the other form in which people hold money is as deposits with banks. And people deposit extra money in banks by opening bank account so that they can earn interest and avoid the danger of theft. And students, the money can be withdrawn as many times as whatever desired by the depositors. Okay? And after that, your next point is check. So, a check is a paper which is instructing the bank to pay a specific amount to the person in whose name the check has been issued. And the facility of check against demand deposits make it possible to directly settle the payment without the use of cash. Okay? And students, banks keeps only a small proportion of their deposit as cash with themselves, approximately 15% to 30% as a provision to pay the depositors who might come to withdraw money from the bank on any given day. Okay? And students, the banks use the remaining portion of the deposits to extend loans. In this way, the banks mediate between those who have surplus funds, like the depositors, and those who are in the need of these funds, like borrowers. Okay? So, credit or loan refers to an agreement in which the lender supplies the borrower with money, goods or services, in return a promise of future payment. And also, credit can affect a person or an organization either positively or negatively, depending upon the terms of credit. And the terms of credit include interest rate, collateral, documentation requirements, and mode of repayment, and are contained in the loan agreement. Okay? And students, when the credit or loan is taken from banks or cooperative, it is called formal sector loan. And RBI or Reserve Bank of India supervises the functioning of formal sources of loans. And students, you have also learned that cheap and affordable credit provided by banks and cooperatives helps in the country's development by fulfilling the credit needs of farmers, businessmen, small-scale industry, etc. It means banks also provided cheap loan to the lender who wants some money to start new business or anything. Okay? And students, you have also prepared and learned that informal sector of credit includes money lender, traders, employers, relative and friends. And informal sector credit activities are not supervised or controlled by the RBI. Okay. So students, on the basis of data which is given in your book, 85% of the loans taken by poor household in the urban areas are from informal sources. And in the rural areas, on an average 50% credit needs are fulfilled from the informal sector. Okay, and as you know very well that the rich household avail or getting cheap credit from formal sector, whereas the poor household have to pay high interest for borrowing from informal sector. And there is also unequitable distribution of formal credit. That's why many SHGs or self-help groups consist or created in numbers who pool their savings and constitute a fund which is further used for loans and advances by the people of villages. So, in SHG's group, near about 15 to 20 members, usually who are belonging to the same village, and they meet regularly and pool their saving, and saving may be according to the salary or income of the people, which is vary from 25 rupees to 100 or more than 100. All right. And nowadays SHCs are becoming very popular because they help the borrowers to overcome the problem of lack of collateral, and also they can get timely loans for variety of purposes like their personal matter, like marriage, like any disease, or for take caring, etc., at a reasonable interest rate from them. And you can take an example of SHGs or self-help group from the Bangladesh, which is very, very big. So students, here the revision of money and credit from economics is completed. Learn very carefully, and also you have to prepare exercises whatever given in your book in geography and economics, and read very carefully each and every point. All right, thank you and have a nice day.